Hey y'all, welcome to Challenge Accepted. I am Frank and I'm joined by Thomas.
Aloha, everybody.
And today we have a double hitter for you. We're talking My Hero Academia episode 1 and episode 12. Why did you choose these episodes?
Yeah, I chose these one because this is my favorite anime,
Mm-hmm.
Ski Deska. Nope, that's a question. I just mean I like it. Um, and
Right
uh,
over my head, I'm like, what is Kitaska? I don't know either.
yeah, well, yeah, I'm not a Japanese professional. I did study at college for a few years, but if you add a "ka" at the end of it, usually means a question. But
Okay.
anyways, I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite animes. I really like season one, episode one, because I think it sets up the character of Deku really, really well. It sets up All Might, and it sets up the world that we're living in the show. It's really cool.
Yes.
It's really unique. And then episode 12, because it's one of the times where you actually get to see All Might shine. There are other episodes later on, but I knew you weren't that far into the
I
show.
appreciate that very much.
Yeah, and if I chose something in season two or three or four, it might ruin something.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep it in season one, show you All Might kicking ass, and then hopefully, you can find a connection between the
Yeah.
two episodes.
Yeah. I like that. Okay, that's perfect. Before we get into the rundown, let's talk about your homeland, where you're from.
Yeah, so I'm from Oahu, but as a lot of you I'm sure are aware, there's been some really bad fires that have just devastated Lahaina in Maui or on Maui. Um, yeah, again, not where I'm from, but I've been there a few times, and man, it just looks horrific. Looks so terrible. Yeah, and I think. I would really appreciate. I think they would really appreciate. Everybody would appreciate it if you can. Any type of donations, thoughts, prayers for the people on Maui would be greatly appreciated. There are several organizations that are collecting donations to help some of these families or people in Hawaii. We call it ohana. If you watch Lilo Stitch, you know that word, but it basically means family. And to help some of those people on Maui, some of the organizations include New Life in Kahuku. There's Hawaii Community Foundation and the Maui Rapid Response. We'll link to these in the show notes. But yeah, if you feel like it in your heart, you want to donate to those things, I know they'd greatly appreciate it. And yeah, if people I think are really hurting, yeah, it's just tough. It's definitely tough
Yeah.
to watch, for sure.
Yeah, just watching the news lately and you see numbers or whatever, but also just homes gone, businesses gone. And yeah. So all the links will be the very first links, guys, in the description. While you're listening to us talk about My Hero Academia and having fun, be sure to go down there and click those links and start following up.
Yeah.
All right, let's return to My Hero Academia. You're gonna be doing our rundown this time. I've got my timer. Do you have your timer?
Nope. I'll let you do it.
All right, then we're doing it old school, guys. We're going off my
Do
timer
it
only.
old school.
All right, take it away.
All right. So we start off in episode one with a young Deku. He is protecting this kid against Kachan. That's like his pet name for him. We will later find out he goes by Bakugo. He's badass, and they're kind of setting up this rivalry. The We also find out that this world, one day a kid was born with like light powers, and then all these other people start showing up with quirks or powers, and 80% of the population of the world now has these quirks. We then get to the modern day, and Deku is trying to go to school. A villain is invading, and on the train tracks, and this hero Kamui Woods pops up, and is going to try to take him down. All these people know about the heroes because in this world, since everybody has powers, heroes have kind of risen to this status,
Yeah.
and are allowed to kind of fight crime in the streets. Well, right when he's going to shoot out his powers, Mount Lady comes in with the kick and just knocks him out. From there, we also see that Deku wants to get into UA High, which is the most prestigious superhero training high school in Japan. Where are we at from there? Young Deku watches All Might on TV, and man, what is
Yeah,
that, like 30 seconds?
and you still got
Uh,
a whole other episode to do.
I got a whole other episode. Yeah, shoot. All Might is just the man. He saves a bunch of people. Deku
Yeah.
wants to be with him, finds out he doesn't have powers, and at the end is of this episode is gonna die. All Might saves him from this water monster. They jump away, and Deku holds on. Now in episode 12, we start with the villains.
Like
League of Villains
five
has like
seconds.
beat the kids. All Might steps up. They protect All Might. Crazy shit happens. That's kind of the end of episode 12, but it's a lot of All Might.
That episode 12, you sped run that episode 12 like triple
I
speed,
did,
man.
yeah, yeah.
That was pretty fast.
It was.
Uh, yeah, let's talk about Deku because that kid is cool. Like the way he's a hero is different than how everybody else is perceiving heroes. And it's the heroes that we want, right? He's like, and that's the part that All Might's like, that's what we're looking for. And I think that's really
Right.
important.
Yeah, yeah, you're so right. Like he's not the cool kid. He obviously, he's not Mr. Popular, but
Right.
it's simply because I think just because he doesn't have a power. But more than anything in the world, he wants to be a hero, but like a good hero. Somebody
Right.
that truly does help people and stands up for the little guy. And it just is like good to his core. And yes, towards the end of the episode, I want to say he asks All Might, can I still be a
So
hero even if I
heartbreaking.
yeah, can I still be a hero even if I don't have powers? And I
Yeah.
think there's like a split second scene where All Might kind of like turns around and it's like this nod of like, "Oh, just wait, kid. You may be in for a whole new world um because you said the right thing."
Well, and I not to kind of bring in a whole other episode, but isn't it in episode 2 when All Might sees that this kid's a hero beyond just like it might have been in episode 1 when he goes and he saves Katsuki, right? Does that sound right?
Yeah, Kachan or like Bakugo.
Okay, there we go, Bakugo. I'll go with that one, Bakugo. But he
Yeah.
saves him, and then that's kind of the time when it's like, okay, you deserve my tutelage because like you didn't have any powers and you were just gonna throw your body in this. I thought that was
Yeah,
cool.
I think you're right. It's episode 2, but yeah, he basically sacrifices himself because at this point, All Might knows he doesn't have powers,
Mhm.
and everybody's watching Kachad basically get killed by this liquid sewage monster, and it doesn't matter. Uh, Midoriya runs in anyway and tries to save him. And so, yeah, All Might is like, all right, respect. And then I don't know if it's episode 2 or 3. I didn't watch all of them in between
Right, right.
in preparation for this. I have in the past,
Hmm.
but that was where All Might's like, yeah, okay, you have the right heart to receive this power.
That's the tricky part, right? It's the only quartz I know of, in my stage of the show that can be handed from one person to another, and it's a big secret amongst them. So when we're in episode 12, the entire thing, like every time All Might's brought up or All Might's fighting, we have one person who knows his limitations because All Might's losing his powers. Actually, it seems like at an accelerated rate, and so he needs to rest a lot now. He only has about 3 hours he can get stuff done, and he's also
Yeah,
trying to teach classes. So the entire time we have Deku, who's like he slips here and there, which is the comedy side of things, but he's also kind of like the only one that knows like he's pushing it too far. He's only got a moment left to try to finish this off. So it's kind of cool
right.
to have that little bit of like a behind the scenes things where somebody's watching it with us.
Yeah, yeah. He's kind of trying to figure out. I mean, one, he gets to meet his hero, which is insane. But then
Yeah,
he
of
also
course.
knows his hero's secret, and he also knows the limitations of his powers, which I think is what you were saying.
Hmm.
And yeah, it kind of like fills us in with Deku because we are Deku in
Yeah.
this situation. Like we don't have powers, and like all of a sudden, one day, because of this crazy circumstance, and running into his hero and doing the right thing, now he has the opportunity to have power. And oh man, it's so good. And All Might is the shit. Like he's
Yes.
Japan Superman. Like
Yeah.
he actually is a good-hearted hero. He means well, but he has this really severe weakness. And Deku the whole time, I don't remember how long into the show before other people know, but through at least through the first 12 episodes, nobody else knows that All Might is losing his power except for Deku.
Yeah, and then eventually Deku tells Bakugo, who's like, because they've been friends, well, they've been, yeah, I guess friends their entire childhood, but Bakugo's always had an edge on him and make sure to rub it in his face a lot. And so he's finally trying to explain, like, look, dude, it's just this, and I'm just trying my best. And then I don't know his emotions. I'll get into it a little bit later on, but yeah. So there is one other person who knows, and it's almost like an All Might knows that like this kid would do nothing malicious. So if he did this, then he did it on purpose, and it's for a good reason. Which I think is a trust that All Might has in Deku that is pretty awesome. That shows that like yeah, they're both on the same cool level.
Yeah, exactly. Like they have the same heart,
Yeah.
and what it means to be a hero. But yeah, the whole Bakugo thing, I forgot what a dick he was. In
Oh, is he
his
not a dick
first,
in the future? That's great to hear. He's such a
I
dick in his
mean,
first ones.
yeah, which is so perfect because I feel like you start seeing that people's quirks kind of align with their personalities, and of
Okay.
course, like Bakugo's power or is explosions. Like he has nitroglycerin sweat
Yeah.
out of his hands or something, which is so crazy. Like the
Yeah.
quirks in this show are ridiculous and badass at the same time.
Right.
Or like for the longest time, I thought the tape elbows guy, I don't remember his name, was so stupid. And then
Yeah.
you kind of see how he uses it
You
later on.
used
You're
it
like,
in episode 12, and you're like, I mean, that worked.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, at one point he's like starts swinging through the city like Spider-Man, and you're like,
That's
it's
dope.
not as dumb as I thought. So I
Yeah.
love that. I love the how they get so creative with the quirks, and as stupid as it sounds, sometimes it kind of works. Well,
Yeah.
Bakugo is a super dick in these first 12 episodes, which I kind of forgot about. They kind of become better friends as the show goes on, as they start to
Okay.
relate to each other. Because in the beginning, it seems like it's almost like Pokemon. Like they're just true
Yeah.
rivals. You get to see more of the backstory of them growing up later on down the road. But in these first few episodes, you're like just straight rival. And like
Yeah.
Bakugo is trying to like push Midoriya down as much as possible.
Yeah. I do like how this show at this point seems to be showcasing a lot of these kids because I think if this was another show, maybe a Western show, we'd have like maybe 4 or 5 who were actually following in a class of 25. This actually feels like we have a class of maybe 12, and we're going to follow all 12. Like we're going to get actual stories for all 12. It feels like that's pretty cool, pretty unique, I think.
Yeah, for the most part, you do. There are some people who, at least from just watching the anime, where I still don't know exactly their backstory, but I would say for 90% of them, you kind of know, who they are, what they care about, how
Yeah.
their powers work. Like, and so yeah, you're right. Like you get to learn literally a whole class of these different characters, and it's awesome. Like there's just a full range. So I think there's always a character you can latch onto. It's very similar for me. It's like X-Men meets Harry Potter.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like so
Yeah.
there's just this wide range of cast, and there's somebody you can that's like your character.
Yeah, but even in both of those, which I guess we just haven't seen them so far. And again, I'm only in the first 12, but in X-Men, there's so many kids that they just kind of show in the background, like doing some random jumps or something like that. That's obviously their
Yeah, yeah,
abilities.
it's floating in the
And
background.
and Harry Potter, there's tons of kids that are going around, flicking the wands. But this one, I feel
Get the
like
wands.
that does sound dirty
It
for absolutely no
sounds super
reason.
dirty.
I'm sorry, guys. Don't be flicking your wands before you're married. But yeah, so but nevertheless, like this actually feels like the whole cast, and like I already am like, ooh, I there are like a group of badass kids, and we see it in I think in this episode where all of a sudden like the ice kid, the obviously the nitroglycerin, the one that can harden his arms. Like, oh man, that's our core team. That's like the trio from Avengers. That's like the real good ones.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see like that group really kick it butt. But also, you got the kid who can throw orbs, and he's useful sometimes. Like it's just there's your Hawkeye, So everybody's got
Yeah.
their things.
Yeah, he ends up being a lot of the comedy relief, but my favorite, and it's too early to tell. Once you finish season two, let's say once you finish season two, I'm curious to hear who your favorite character is.
Okay.
But for me, I mean, definitely, I like Midoriya, but he's not my favorite by any means. I'm a big fan of Todoroki, and so Todoroki. His power is half hot, half cold, which is like funny way to describe it. But we get to see
Okay.
that he does save all Might in a way from the Nomu in episode 12 by freezing him as he's going through the portal.
And All Might seemed to be impressed the fact that he's able to stop the freeze in time before it hit All Might. Did you notice how he said
Yeah.
that? I was like, ooh, he's
Yes.
noticing how cool that. And that dude, I've seen him before, so I think he does get bigger in the series because I've seen his Funko Pop. Like he's at
Yeah.
Funko Pop level, so he's got to be pretty big.
Yeah. Oh, Todoroki. Oh my God, hands down, by far one of my favorites. But you touched on a really good point on the detail is what makes it exciting. I mean,
Hmm.
the action is the action. Like
Yeah,
it's very cool anime action. It's like there's Dragon Ball elements to it. The ground explodes, the fast
all the
punching, the
time.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but like it has all those
right.
tropes, which are still super badass, but they focus on the detail.
Hmm.
And all I can say is wait till you meet a character called Lemillion.
Okay.
He is ridiculously badass, and his power is basically kitty pride. But
Oh
when they
wow.
explain how his power works and the level of control he needs to have, it's insane. Like, yeah, again, this is like way foreshadowing,
Right,
but
right,
if
right, right.
he doesn't concentrate on his powers too much, he'll just fall through the earth.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
So he's always keeping himself on top of the earth,
so
and
he's always, yeah, he's
that's cool.
only whatever you call that, like dissipating
Corporeal. Oh
enough.
boy, I don't know. I almost had it. So so it kind of sounds like almost like he's always going through things, but the power is stopping himself from doing it. So it's almost like a curse instead of a power. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And you kind of find that with a lot of these characters, right? I
Yeah.
mean, in the first season with Deku specifically, he gets this power and you're like, "Yes, he's got it. He earned it. This is going to be a breeze." He's like All Might 2.0, and then he uses his power and then boom, breaks his bones.
Yes.
And that doesn't go away for a long time.
For real. Wow. Okay. I thought for sure he's going
Yeah,
to train himself out of that because we see in episode 12, which feels like it's a big turning point for him. He does a punch and it doesn't break him, and so you think, oh, he's fine now, but then you find out like, oh no, it's because this guy has the shock absorption thing, which we learn later on. It doesn't make any sense when the punch happens, but then when All Might comes in and the other guy's like, oh, he's got shock absorption, so you're like, oh, okay, so he absorbed what would break the into himself. If there's anybody else that would
right.
have worked. Okay.
Yeah, it's like punching a pillow as opposed to punching a steel wall.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So 100%. But yes, man, they just do such an insane job of explaining this and giving you these details that make it really interesting.
So here's my thing. So Daniel is my Taguro. If you guys listen to Geek Freaks, it's Daniel or Taguro. He's my anime guru, and he's the one that like does all my anime research for me and does my searches. So
I'm a
he
little
knows the
offended,
kind
but
of anime
okay.
I like. Well, no, but here's the deal. Okay, this is not to be. I don't. I've already tried to watch My Hero Academia a few times, and I can't really get into it very much.
Okay,
And
that's fair.
when you and me were talking, and I was talking about Attack on Titan off mic, and you were saying I can't really get into Attack on Titan. And the reason I can't get into My Hero Academia very much, and this is just, I don't care for animes that try to be funny. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that the comedy in this really works for me. And
Okay.
I think we said this in another podcast, but it's because I have like a middle school humor level. And
Right.
the beginning part in episode one, where Kamui Woods is like shooting his special attack out, and then Mount Lady comes in and kicks, and then
Mhm.
all the guys are like, money shot, money shot, money shot with all their phones and stuff. That gets me. Like that shit
Okay. And
makes
I'm
me
like,
crack up.
that's cringy.
Oh, is it?
So,
Which is, yeah.
my question for you is because you watch a lot more anime than I do, and like Daniel recommends anime to me based off of what I already like.
Right.
Um, so my question for you is there a thing in Japanese culture or in anime culture where like you know how they do this thing and they do it in My Hero Academia a lot where like somebody does something funny and then they're like they do like this wider face, wider eyes, and they're like, oh my god, and they're like
Yeah, yeah.
happy or surprised, like it's extreme emotion.
Yeah.
What is that called something when an anime does that a lot?
It's a good question. Shoot, I don't know. I probably knew at one point, but I've been so far removed from Japanese school. I think it does have a name, but I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
That really works for me because I grew up with it.
That's the thing. Yeah, I think for me it's very different, and so it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, so what your complaint for for Attack on Titan, I totally recognize it, and it's that people are whining and complaining too much. Like, so much dialogue in between two things will happen, and it's a lot of just like I'm depressed right now and stuff like that.
Right.
Like I'm Batman, but like I'm whatever Aaron.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
Brooding depression.
and I recognize it while I'm watching it, but I'm still okay with it. I'm still kind of down with it. Like, okay, yeah, but there's like no jokes in Attack on Titan from what I can
Right.
remember. It's just I think that's what it is. I don't know if I like anime comedies as much. My favorite anime before this one is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Again, very pretty chill, not funny. There's the dog episode that'll crush you. There's like
Right,
not a
right,
lot of comedy in that one, except for Alphonse does some jokes here and there. But
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I like the comedy aspect
Yeah.
of it. Originally, I'm trying to think of what the first anime was that I watched. It probably was the original Dragon Ball, and we used to get when Pokemon first came out. I think it was in fifth or sixth grade. It would come on TV, and it was from Japan. So we had like
Oh
a
wow,
Japanese
pretty
channel in
old.
Hawaii,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it was like a new episode on Fridays at 4, and like you had to watch it.
Hmm.
And yeah, so there's that point where they do the jokes and it like breaks up some of the tension. That
Yeah.
really works for me. And I think it's kind of like one of the reasons why I like Marvel movies a little bit. I know some people are like, it's kind of cheesy, but it works for me. And I
Yeah.
dig it.
I'm just that's the thing I was curious about. I thought maybe because you watch more anime, maybe there would be like a name for it. I feel like there is.
I should
Like there's
know. I should
tropes
know
in
the name,
in
but
all
I
kinds
don't.
of things. And I just find it interesting as an outside observer. You could recognize that trope, and then I lean in on it. There's so many. Dead Man Wonderland, by the way, it only had like one season.
Yeah.
Fantastic anime, and I wish they would make more of them.
Nice.
But
Okay, have not heard about that.
yeah, check
But
that one
like
out. It's
Demon
really good.
Slayer has that too. So
Yeah.
like Demon Slayer has those moments where you're like, okay, now they're trying to be silly. But then when you
Right.
watch the main story, it's like dark and it's scary and you're like, there's blood and like, demons eating people.
And in
But
the
then,
manga, like there is no silliness at all. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's just, playing to the audience a little bit and
Yeah.
also like breaking up the tension. Because if you're going to watch, this isn't like, I don't know what normal kids' cartoons seasons are like. But
Hmm.
there's so many episodes in all of these seasons. Like one season has like 56 episodes. You need a little bit of humor. And also, like, yeah, I don't know if this anime is necessarily for adults. When this was first developed, I'm pretty sure it was for
Okay.
school kids. And
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
yeah, and I think Attack on Titan was probably made for a more mature audience. Like
It's a
Death
l-
Note definitely is about a kid in school, right? And like so a lot of anime is of like revolves around a school aspect.
yeah.
And yeah, I think for kids you want to make them laugh a little bit.
It's such an interesting because we've interviewed manga writers in the past, and when they describe how manga works in Japan, it's like a whole different level than what we even think about comic books. It's not fair to consider them comic books for Japanese people at all. It
Oh,
is
definitely.
a main source of entertainment for them over there. And
Hmm.
so like the idea that all cartoons are for kids is not a thing in Japan. Like there are like if you watch Attack on Titan, like there's a lot of blood. It's so
Oh yeah.
gory, you
Yeah,
know.
that premise of like these giant monsters going around like eating people and like
Yeah,
chopping them in half is wild. Yeah. But I don't even think animation should be only for kids here in the US either.
agreed.
You right? Like I think we're getting to the point where there's obviously animation for adults. Like if you watch Invincible or what's another one that came out recently on Amazon Prime?
Well, even like even if you go to like the adult animation stuff that I watch all the time is like Family Guy, American Dad,
Oh, yeah,
Simpsons,
yeah. Totally.
all
That's
that's
not for
kind of
kids.
like not really for kids. The jokes wouldn't land for kids, but I think that the Japanese culture was way ahead of us on that. I think they got because it's not even a question for them anymore. Yeah, it's still like I don't know about you guys, but my parents are always like, "Yeah, why are you watching a cartoon?" I'm like, "Have you watched Bob's Burgers? It's more serious than any sitcom you're watching."
Yes.
you know?
Case in point, my wife. So she's Friends, How I Met Your Mother, The Office, like on
Yeah,
repeat. She has like 6 shows, and once one ends, she goes to the next one and
they're good
starts
ones to
all over.
repeat though. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, which is
Oh
great. And
yeah.
there's so much meat in there. Like you can watch them forever. But one night I put on Bob's Burgers, and she's like, "What are you watching? Some dumb cartoon or whatever?" I was like, Just watch an episode. You love it."
Yeah.
Now it's in her rotation.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's so good.
Yeah.
But yes, I feel like Japan was ahead of the curve, and maybe it's because they didn't have a cinema industry like we have Hollywood.
Oh, interesting.
So if you wanted to get into like see crazy action sometimes, you got it in like video games or manga or anime, right? And
Yeah.
so that is, I don't know, I think maybe that might have something to do with it. I don't know. That's just me speculating.
You also see in My Hero Academia that video games definitely has an influence on the anime because one of the guys mentions I'm not the final boss at one point,
Yeah.
and it's just the way the fight works. You're like, oh man, they're escalating. If
Mhm.
this was in the '80s, these guys would be flashing red. They're both almost dead, but really they're giving
Right, right.
everything.
Blinking.
Yeah, and so you could tell like there's total video game references or inspiration in this, and it's easy for someone who's been playing video games all my life to be like, I recognize what's going on. That's cool, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's good. It just kind of blends so many things that I like.
Mhm.
And again, this latest season, and I'm not gonna spoil anything, but man, get
Yeah,
to
definitely
season
don't.
6.
I will
Oh
be
my
for sure.
God, dude, it gets so crazy.
Okay.
Like, yeah, that's the one of the hardest things though. Like while I do love the latest season, it kind of gets away from the school aspect, and that's one of my
Right.
favorite parts about the first few seasons is that we get to see what the classes are like. Like what would a class be in a super okay, what if what if a more useful in that aspect. There's some people who are be more useful in getting people away from danger or stopping people from going into danger. Like so, it's really cool how they came up with this world. And man, I love that aspect. It's just one
Yeah.
thing that I miss in some of the later seasons.
Do you feel like My Hero Academia is so we have with Marvel kind of this point now, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. MCU is kind of a little all over the place in comparison to the first 10 years. Do
For
you think
sure.
My Hero Academia is entering that phase, or are they entering their end game where they're building to something really massive?
Yeah, I think they're building to something massive.
Okay.
I don't remember the specifics, but I remember someone saying that the manga was coming to an end. I don't know if that's
I
true.
see.
I could be wrong on that. Don't take that verbatim. But
Hmm.
I heard that the manga might be coming to an end. So I think there is an ultimate story that they're trying to wrap up. I don't know if it's going to be like your One Piece where there's like 52 seasons, and like a
Yeah.
thousand, whatever it is, 200 episodes, well, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like it kind of has a final destination it's going to,
Yeah.
which makes me a little sad. I do miss, and again, in the earlier season, it's so cool. There eventually is a competition,
Hmm.
almost like the Goblet of Fire for Harry Potter.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'm in.
Oh my God, it gets so cool. And so you see all these kids from different schools, and sometimes a lot of the time they kind of do their research on like, okay, this guy has this power, this must be a weakness, or I might be able to stop it based on this. But they run into an opponent, they have no idea what they can do, and then there becomes a lot of mind games and manipulation to it. And then you meet more of the characters in class 1A, and then they level up. It's, oh man, it just builds to such a crazy place, but I again missed the school aspect of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds like I'm just at the beginning of my Hero Academia journey, and it's going to be advancing very big after this, which is cool.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool. I like it.
it is. They're eventually like their suits are more than just suits. Like when we get into Marvel,
Yeah.
they like all of a sudden they just get an upgraded suit like from movie to movie, and you're like, okay, that's cool, but it doesn't really mean a lot. Like the suits have details. There's a purpose to why they wear certain gloves or shoes, or if they have these discs on their arm, they're gonna help focus their power in a certain way. It's
Yeah.
so
Bakugo is the
cool,
best
man.
example of that because we see in one of the episodes where he's able to build up his sweat and then go for this massive explosion. It's like without the
Yeah.
suit, his ability is cool, but it's not that. It's not take out an entire hallway. So
Right. And he kind of has one of the more ridiculous suits, with those
yeah,
big
big
grenade
old
hands.
grenades. Yeah.
Yeah, but and as ridiculous as it is, it kind of is it's grown on me. A
Yeah.
lot of it has grown on me. I didn't really know what to think of it, but if you kind of go in again enjoying the comedy, but just kind of if you find one person you really like and want to see where they get to, shit pops off. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'm definitely gonna watch more of this. And I was just because this is our first. I mean, I know we kind of did one anime, but it was a movie. This is our first anime, and I know that you and I are excited to do much more anime. So I kind of want to explore anime as a genre as we go. And for me, the comedy side of anime is something I'm not very familiar with. So I think that was a really kind of good spot to start with. But like, I can't wait to talk more about action and how they animated things and how the different studios are separated from the different manga. Uh, yeah, I think it's just this whole genre that's so exciting and so freaking cool. And man, it's amazing how many like Western people do not know this untapped stories. So good.
Yeah, it's so true. But it saw some One Piece characters. I'm trying to think of what else has been really popular.
One of our favorite creators, Straw Hat Goofy. You know, he
Yeah,
his entire persona is based off of One Piece, basically.
off Luffy. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. And it is building steam. There's anime expos, I feel like every month here in Southern California. So
Mhm.
it is really cool to be in this time because where I grew up, it wasn't really a shameful thing to like anime because everybody was
Right.
watching it. Like on, what was it, Toonami
Oh,
on Cartoon
that
Network?
was my exposure to anime for a long time. That's
Yeah,
where I first saw
remember?
Inuyasha was my first anime to
Oh,
actually watch.
Inuyasha was
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But like Dragon Ball Z, you would watch 30 episodes of Goku and Frieza just trash talking before you actually got to see them fight. But like that fight, you were just
Yeah.
like, yeah. And
Yeah.
you're, as a kid, you're like, yes,
All the
they're
build
doing
up to
Goku.
it. I've been waiting
Exactly.
two
Yeah.
months for this fight.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that anime is able to do. Like
Yeah.
they're able to set up these long, like really long-term storytelling. And we were
Mhm.
kind of joking about it. Like these episodes are 24 minutes long on Hulu, but you're really only getting about 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So you don't get a lot of story, but what you get in it, it feels like it's pushing you just enough forward to make the next episode interesting, and then it hooks you for the next, and
Oh,
then
dude, totally.
yeah,
You
so
I mean like once I pass the intro, I'm already gonna be in it. You know, like it's so hard to stop and go to bed when you're watching anime. It's so freaking hard.
yeah, it totally is. And now I'm trying to get a little bit more caught up on One Piece. It's one of those things where, I thought I wasn't interested in it, and then I was like, I'm too far gone, like I can't catch up.
Yeah.
And now it's like, whatever, I'm just gonna put on. So like that's my nighttime show. And I don't know, I'm like 20 episodes in, but if I don't stop halfway through an episode, I'm just watching the next one. Like
Right.
that's just gonna keep on going. So
I'm
yeah.
afraid to start One Piece because I love pirates and stuff like that. And I'm like, God, 1,000 episodes though. Jesus, that's so
That's
much.
that's pretty good though. 20
Yeah,
episodes in. I get why people are a fan of it.
that's cool.
And yeah, it's such an awesome genre.
You ready for some fun facts?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go. We don't have a lot for this one, unfortunately. It's a shame, but let's get what we do have. All right, first one. Many of the cities and locations share same or similar names to different planets in Star Wars franchise. So
What?
yeah, they're basically named after Star Wars stuff.
Cool.
So
Okay, wait. In episode 1, the villain, that the first villain we see, that giant one, is on like it says like Tatooine. I was like,
yes,
"What?" Wait, I was like that just has to be
Tatooine
a
Station is
coincidence.
based off of Tatooine. No, they're all based off of Star Wars stuff.
That
There's a
dude, you just made me
Mustaf
like it more.
There's a Mustafu based off of Mustafar. There's a Camino. There's a Kiyishi Ward that's spelt to where it looks like Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
Hosu cities based off of Hoth. There's a Jakku city, Naboo Island. There's a Gunga mountain villa. Yeah, so there's like a list of all these things that are just like straight up. And then even the Midori train with All Might. Oh, when he trains with All Might, is supposed to be in reference to the Dagobah scene with Yoda. And so, yeah.
Dude, I did not know that. I love it even more now. Just it's my favorite. This is hands down my favorite.
Oh man. So next up, Midori's original character design had him with black hair instead of the green hair and red eyes instead of the green eyes. Uh, they ended up going with green, but they wanted to still use those red eyes, so they used those for Fumikage, the Raven guy, which is actually like
Yeah,
I think my early favorite character. I think I like him the most so far.
dude. Yeah, Dark Shadow. So sick. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's cool. Midori is green, and his name
Yeah.
is like Izuku Midoriya. So like playing off that whole green thing.
Right. And they might have changed the name since going with a change of look too. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think there's one other thing on his name. Uh, I don't have this written down, and I heard this somewhere, but Deku, the translation can. I'm not exactly sure what the translation is, but it's something along the lines of Deku is also. It means like can be translated to hopeless, and in a
Oh,
different way, if
interesting.
you translate it to is um like inspirational.
Oh, dude, that's so good.
Yeah,
We
so
better
I
confirm
really
that.
like.
That is cool. That is perfect.
Yeah, we'll have to confirm it, but I'm pretty sure, which is just like so spot on for his character.
Yeah. Bakugo was originally supposed to be a friendly personality. He was supposed to be best friends, but he decided to give him a bastard-like personality after not being a big fan of how the friendship worked out.
Hmm,
So he's like, let's make it to where they're rivals instead of friends, and so that's what they went with.
that makes it so much better. Oh
Yeah,
man, there is a fight later on between them that is so dope. Is one of the best anime fights. I don't remember if
damn,
it's in like season 4 or 5, but
so far away from me. Damn.
yeah, but it's so worth it, dude. It was like what again, I watch a lot of these animes like as I'm going to sleep because they're short episodes.
Mhm.
And I was like, like doing one of those. I was like, this
Yeah,
is insane.
yeah.
So man, oh, so worth it.
Oh man. All right. My last one for you guys. This is animated by Studio Bones. The studio has also animated Full Metal Alchemist and Soul Eater. So two of the biggest animes out there. Also does
Right
this one.
on.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So guys, make
Pretty
sure you guys
awesome.
watch My Hero Academia. Like I'm impressed by it. I definitely I got ways to go, man. But
Yeah. Also, if you guys see this, tell us who your favorite character is,
great idea.
and also maybe what some of your favorite episodes are. And
Mhm.
that maybe we can challenge to that in the future as well. But I'm curious to hear who everybody's favorite characters are and why.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it says a lot about you, you know?
That's a great way to
Yeah.
look at it. Yeah, I like that. That's a good way. Yeah, it's almost like a what's those personality tests that BuzzFeed does all the time? Which My Hero
Yeah, yeah,
Academia
yeah.
character are you? That's got to be out there
Or
somewhere.
it's like, Pottermore, like, what house are you?
Oh God, yep, Hufflepuff till I die. Yep.
There you go. Awesome,
Oh
man.
man, do you want to do your review for this?
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna let you start it off so I can try to center some thoughts here because I
Okay.
felt like it was just one giant positive review. I'm trying to think of any criticisms I might say. I guess I kind of got into it that
If you
they
don't really have them, that's fine. I mean, if it's not worth the criticisms, then don't try to
this
force it.
this okay. I will say this: the last season that came out on Hulu, I don't have Crunchyroll, but the last season that came out
Yeah.
on Hulu, I think it was season 6, was very. The highs were so massively high, but the lows were very low.
Roller
It
coaster.
didn't feel like a balanced season,
Yeah.
but the crazy awesome stuff he got out of it was super sick. I think that might be one of the only real criticisms, and then them getting away from the school aspect towards
Okay.
in the later
That seems
seasons
like
at
a
the end.
later on. That definitely seems like a big negative. Like when you compared it to Harry Potter, it's perfect because when they're out there looking for the Horcruxes, whatever they're called, I'm like, just not as fun. Not as fun.
Yeah, yeah, right. So there
All
you go.
right, so for my review, I'll just say really great anime for somebody who's new to the genre, and it has plenty for somebody who's familiar with everything. It has something I think that can welcome in a Western audience, and we obviously have already mentioned, but you can hearken it to a Harry Potter or an X-Men or a Sky High. There's a deep reference for you guys there.
There you
Uh,
go.
but it's definitely a good anime, especially if you're new to anime. I think that's where this one really shines.
Yeah, well said. I would definitely have to add that into my review too, saying yeah, this is a really great anime for people to get into. The main character is really easy to root for.
Yeah.
The rules of the world are very clearly stated. If you like comedy or like aspects of comedy, there is some of that in it. But if you like hardcore anime fighting and action, they have that as well. There's some deep storytelling beats and themes. What they do with some of their villains is some of the deepest, craziest, most interesting villain backstories I have ever seen, and that's including comic books that I've been reading since I was 8 years old.
Hmm.
But what an interesting, unique world. Hopefully, this is an anime. I think this is an anime that a lot of people can enjoy. If
Definitely.
you do, it's all in preference, but I think this serves a wide audience.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah,
That's
and
well put.
plus ultra. So
Plus,
sorry, had to throw in the catchphrase.
yeah, he okay, good. That is his catchphrase because I noticed he says it during the fight, and I'm like, oh, that must be like, is he activating something? Like I didn't catch it all the way, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
It's like the school slash top heroes catchphrase. So like
Okay.
all of the top heroes will say that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like go beyond plus ultra. And like it just so happens that he drops it in this fight because he's about to go, All Might's version of Super Saiyan, which is
Yeah,
beyond 100%. Which, by the way, you didn't think it was funny when he's like Texas Smash, Illinois Smash. That shit just cracked me up. It
I
like
didn't catch that.
you
Damn.
didn't catch the. Oh my god.
Oh no.
Okay, so I'm not a traditionalist too. I'll throw this out there. If you like watching the dub version of it, like the American dub version of the show is fantastic. I'm not one of those people that needs everything to be in subtitles. Like I've done Demon Slayer in subtitles, but I've watched My Hero Academia in the dub. I kind of bounce back and forth, and I'm not one of those people that has to be in the original voice actors, but watch it in the dub because maybe if you haven't, maybe it'll hit you more.
I did watch it in dubs, but I'll have to check that part again because I'm totally spaced on that. That's too bad.
It's
That's funny.
ridiculous and it's kind of funny and
Yeah,
it's kind of badass at the same time.
that's cool. All right, you ready for what I'm challenging you to next?
Yeah, lay it on me.
This is from a little movie from 2019, and I think it's one of the best villain movies ever. We're watching
Ooh,
Joker.
Joker. Okay, all right.
There you go.
There you go.
Todd Phillips.
Uh, yeah. What is I just watched a Joaquin Phoenix movie on the trip,
Hmm.
and yeah, he's such a good actor, man.
He
Like
oh
what
yeah,
he
he
could
is.
do in his face and just like emoting is ridiculous. Yeah, I haven't visited the Joker in a while, so I'm excited
Same.
about
It's
it.
been and as much as I loved it when it first came out, and we did it multiple times on Geek Freaks. I was like, man, I haven't watched this one in a bit, and I was kind of like, I want to do something DC with it, kind of being the swan song for DC right now. Uh, the Snyderverse, and I was like, do I want
No,
to do?
Blue Beetle's gonna crush, man.
No, 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 no. I don't mean that. I don't mean that. I
I'm
mean like,
kidding.
I mean that it's the last of the DCEU, and I was like, should we do Man of Steel? Well, we just did a Superman, so let's not do that. So then I went
Right.
with one that's a Elseworld story anyway, so it didn't work out that great. But yeah, nevertheless, yeah.
Nice. Well, great choice. Yeah, I'm all for it. This is gonna be sick.
Guys, go watch The Joker with us, and go watch My Hero Academia, and let us know your favorite character and episode. And that's it for us this week, guys. We'll see you next one. Bye.
Aloha.